Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I'm very happy to welcome Kayla Ehrig here. Did I get that correct?
You did. Perfect. Thank you.
We're going to get to know her and what she does. Let's start this off right. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, well, I am tuning in from the Netherlands currently, but I'm originally from Pennsylvania. And yeah, I'm currently traveling around full time as a digital nomad with my husband. So just kind of following the good weather. That's where we're at right now.
Well, I'm curious, what is a digital nomad?
A digital nomad is somebody who works online and travels or has the ability to travel. I don't think that you need to be traveling at every moment of the day. I think it's fine if to me, it's a very wide kind of umbrella term that fits all kinds of different scenarios. Some people will, go away for January every year, but work from home 11 months of the year. I think those people are digital nomads as much as anyone else. We're kind of on the extreme end of it right now, my husband and I, because we don't have an apartment and we got rid of all of our stuff to travel. So we're the extreme side. And then there's a lot of other people in between, though.
So what exactly is your business online?
I'm a freelance writer. So we're writers. And I write for HubSpot and GoDaddy, and I do ghostwriting for other people you would never know. I was the one writing it, but there's a lot of my writing out there in the world. And I also just wrote a book that is about digital nomadism that's coming out in January. So I'm just spent 6 months churning out. I feel like I was back in school, trying to staying up until midnight, writing furiously. So yeah, that took me back.
So if I decided that I wanted to write my autobiography, and I am not a writer by any means, I could say, Kayla, can you help me write my book?
Theoretically, you could find someone kind of like me. I actually focus on SEO writing, so writing for Google, and that's my specialty. I write blog posts, so like 1,500 word to 3,000 word articles. That's my specialty.
You said that you wrote a book on basically how to help people do what you do. I know there's a lot of companies out there that are having folks work from home.
Yeah.
Which, my wife gets to do that about 3 days out of the week, but unfortunately she has to go in the other two. But if she could do that from home all the time, which I really don't know why she couldn't, I would be up to travel. I'm retired, so I'm free to go anywhere.
Yeah, a lot of people are having that realization because I think a lot of people consider, digital, like traveling and working online to be something for, 20-year-olds. And it's actually not, because a lot of people need to climb the ladder in their career before they're given the full, allowance to be completely remote. That's not something that you normally get whenever you're 22 right out of school getting a job. You kind of have to climb the ladder. So I think a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s are already working online, and they're really good candidates for that.
How difficult was it for you to get rid of all your stuff?
The first time, it was very difficult. I did it in 2017 for the first time, and that was very hard because I had moved to Chicago only a year prior, and I kind of felt like an adult for the first time. I moved there whenever I was 23, and I bought my first couch, and I was living alone, so I bought everything that I needed, and I had my first good real salary that I was able to live alone and have, I don't know, it felt to me like a very kind of grown up life. So getting rid of all of that was hard. I thought, what if I don't like traveling? What if I come back in 6 months and I want to get it all again? And I wouldn't have the salary the second time around because I quit my job and I went freelance. So get all my things the first time was hard. But then 6 years later, my husband and I just did it in April, and that it was so easy to do it all again. The second time I actually felt wonderful because I knew that I wouldn't regret it because I'd already been through the fear factor of, won't I need this spoon someday? And this stuff means something to me. And I already went through the process of letting go and not missing anything. So it was a lot easier, but the first time is hard. It's a big step to get rid of all your stuff and to walk out the door with I had two backpacks, one on the front and one on the back. So that was scary. I won't lie. That was not easy.
What sparked that conversation for this whole thing to get started?
I really felt like I was kind of, I don't know, sleepwalking through life. I felt like I was not really taking stock of the weeks or the months as they went by. I went to work, I went to the bar on the weekends. It felt very like going through the motions. And I thought life was supposed to be more fun. And I started asking people at work, don't you think life is supposed to be fun? And everyone kind of said the same thing, that it should be, but it's really not. And then people tried to comfort me and say, well, you'll get used to it. And that was not what my fear. My fear is that I would get used to it. In 20 years or 30 years or on my deathbed, I'll say, wow, I really just kind of went through the motions. And I didn't really think very critically if I wanted to do what I was doing. That was really scary to me. So once I discovered online, on social media, I saw people working online and traveling. And once I knew that that was an option, that kind of creaked the door open to this whole world that I didn't know existed. And I became obsessed with it and just thought, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the whole way. I'm going to get rid of my stuff. I did put some things in a storage unit, and then I later got rid of all of that. But I thought, yeah, this is it. Bought a one-way ticket out of the US and thought, if I don't do it now at 23, single, no strings, nothing tying me down. If I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it 10 years from now with a house and maybe a family. So it was time for me to just take the leap. I could feel it, that I would regret it if I didn't.
Did you have any loved ones that tried to talk you out of it?
No, but I think there would have been if I had told everybody up front. I had kind of gone through that process before, because I moved. Well, I went to college and I grew up in Pennsylvania. And then right after I graduated, I moved to Seattle. So that's the whole way across the US, the
Yeah.
continental US. And I had family members then who tried to, some of them are people in my life, I should say, that were discouraging. And I learned at that point to not tell people my plans unless I was sure, because you're
Mm.
kind of sensitive whenever you're still making decisions. Because I was weighing a job in Seattle versus a job in Tennessee. Wow, I actually feels like so long ago in Tennessee. And whenever I was making that decision, having people's negativity really bothered me. Like I bumped into this guy on the sidewalk who I had kind of met at work a couple times. He was retired and he was like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I told him, "Well, I'm thinking about taking a job and I have to decide between this job offers." And he said, "Seattle has the highest taxes. I would never." And he started complaining about and I felt like, really, John, like how much does that affect your life? How much do you really know about Seattle's tax situation? And he kind of just like unloaded this negativity on me. And that was a bit of a light bulb moment, not to share plans with people until my decision was made.
Yeah, I understand that. I grew up in a generation where you got married, got the good job, and bought a home and raised a family and saved up and retired and then enjoyed the rest of your life. But I also saw people who, within years of retirement, they were dead.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So you worked all your life to enjoy a couple of years just to pass away.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to live my life that way. And
No.
I was in a little town outside of Houston, and I tell people that place is like a magnet. Once you've established yourself there, it doesn't want to let you go.
Mm,
And I really didn't like the Houston area. It was, well, let's put it this way, where I grew up, Exxon, their main chemical plant, was right there in the middle of town.
wow.
And I didn't want to be around that anymore. And
Yeah.
I got remarried, and my new wife had family and friends up in the Austin area. And so I'd come up here to visit, and oh, it was so beautiful. There was nature and clean water and all these animals and everything. I just fell in love with it. And I retired from my job and used the money to move up here. And anyway, there's a lot more to that story I won't get into. But when I would tell people I'm moving to Austin. I got the whole spiel about, oh, it's more expensive up there and you don't really know anybody up there. All your family is here. And yeah, it's hard to say goodbye, especially since my kids are all still down there and my grandkids are down there. But I wanted to be around, nature, um, and be happy.
Yeah. And people talk a lot about things being expensive, but I think that it's really important to talk about expense in more than one way. Expense is not just money, it's also time and energy and like unhappiness. I knew somebody who I graduated from a close friend and was growing up. She bought a house kind of where we grew up, and she always said she was going to move to the city, and we lived in the suburbs, and she bought a house in the suburbs. And I asked her, why didn't you buy a house in the city? Like, you dreamt, like, you have enough money, you big salary, you could do it. And she said, well, the taxes are higher. And I thought, well, what about the fact that it couldn't have stopped her. It wouldn't have changed her life. She makes more than enough money. She has a very high paying role. And I just thought it was interesting. It's interesting how people say that costs something, but what about the cost of what you wanted to do?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it didn't matter that much to her, but I think that sometimes people do say, well, that's too expensive, so I should just be less happy. But you're paying something there for your lack of happiness.
Right. Well, if I lived inside of Austin, it would be more expensive for me to live in there. But living outside of Austin, it's not much different than what I was spending where I was at. In fact, there are a few things that are a lot cheaper here than what they were back home. And like you said, the cost of your happiness, what do you want more? Do you want to be happy, or do you just want to live in that 9 to 5 grind and you have a home? Yeah, but are you happy?
And if you're not willing to pay a little bit more to be happy, then what are you saving that money for?
Yeah. I mean, not like you're going to take it with you when you die.
No. And then you think, well, we'll save a little bit of money and put it towards vacation or something. But that's then on vacation, are you also gonna, I don't know. I guess it can kind of spiral. And money is a very real issue. And if you cannot, I'm not saying that people should spend more than they have, but just in this specific situation of somebody saving money just for because it wasn't worth it to be happy. If people with like money concerns in other ways, that does not apply the same. But it's just an interesting mentality.
Well, money seems to be the center of everything.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, you need money to live, but you also need to live.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people about doing this, do you talk about being able to let go of material things?
It does come up because people are really shocked. Let's see that we only have, and some people in our lives, my husband and I, they're like, well, why, here's a gift. It's like, we only have the bags that you see. Some people like can't quite comprehend. They think that there's like a secret, I don't know, something with all of our things. Oh, we do have a small number of things in storage, I will say, but we're the pickiest people in the world about what we buy and keep because we carry it. It's
Yeah.
not like you carry a book. You might buy a book and put it on your shelf for not read it for 5 years. Well, we couldn't do that because I'm not going to carry that book around every day. Some people think that that's kind of an impasse to doing what we do, having to get rid of things, which they don't have to. They could keep their house. If you have enough money, you can keep your house exactly the way it is and then travel a week out of the month, a month out of the year, go away for a year. I mean, your plants will die probably, but nothing else bad will happen if you don't have any, responsibilities there.
Do you have advice for folks that maybe want to live out of an RV?
Yeah, if you're interested in that, my parents are actually talking about that. So we talk about this a lot. I would say stop buying things altogether if you don't need it. Because most people who want to travel more in like a bigger way, they're going to downsize in some way. They're going to even if they just spend less money so that they can save more for traveling, or they're going to downsize to a smaller home or an RV or put things in storage. Yeah, kind of breaking up with that shopping habit is really big.
Mhm.
It helps because you can only take so much, and then you're really living for the experience as well. So you feel like you need less. And I think that you do genuinely need less whenever you're like every day is different. You're so engaged with life in a way. It's very stimulating. It can be overstimulating. It can be too much where you think, I just want my normal routine again because I'm feeling really tired from it all. So it's not all positives. There, like anything, there are pros and cons. People don't realize how expensive normal life is. Whereas for me traveling, and I also left the US to travel, so that took the price down a lot because the US is more expensive. And I was making dollars, which is a very privileged position to be in. So I was making US dollars while spending something small, like a less strong currency. So it converted really well that I could, yeah, things, I would get like a room in a hostel and it would be, $4. Where that's a lot more money for if you're a local, but whenever you're making dollars or, any, Canadian dollars as well, or British pounds, I meet a lot of people from those countries. And yeah, it can be really like very advantageous in terms of your finances. And I do meet people who've actually moved abroad to be financially secure. In my book, I interviewed a couple who they graduated from college right at the recession in 2008, and they were trying to get into the music industry, which was really extra hard, more hard than normal during that time. And then they were crashing with friends, and on New Year's Eve, somebody robbed the apartment and took what little stuff they had. And they decided to move to China and teach English because it paid so much more than they were even projected. It was just a financial move. I mean, I don't know how much money they were projected to make in their roles in the music industry, but they moved to China for financial stability, and they had a great life there and saved a ton of money. And they've been abroad now for, I think, well, how many years has it been since 2008? They've been abroad this whole time, living, traveling. It's not just a cost. You might actually be able to prosper financially through a life of travel. That's been a big eye-opener for me.
My whole thing is I want to experience more out of life before I can't anymore. I want to do it now. If I wanted to read your book, where would I go?
You could find it on Amazon, as well as a lot of, right now it's everywhere online. So Barnes & Noble, Target, all of these places. And once it's out, it'll be on the shelves somewhere. I actually don't know where it'll be on the shelves yet, but you can find it online. Amazon's probably the go-to for most people.
Do you have a website?
I do, yeah. I also have a website. It's called writingfromnowhere.com. And yeah, you can contact me on there if anyone wants to say hi or ask questions about finding out how to travel more. I'd love to talk to anybody.
Oh, I'll be bugging you all the time then.
I would love that.
And what about your social media?
I'm on social media. It's just Kayla Uhrig. So no one can spell that. I won't spell it out for listeners, but I'm sure you can maybe just drop the links for people or copy paste my name. Yeah. And I'd love to connect with people.
I try to make it easy for folks. I put it in the description so they can just
very nice.
They can click on it and go straight to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was so nice talking, and I hope you travel more.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, well, I hope you'll come back. Hit that subscribe button for my regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network